Hello? No, nobody here.
Hey guys, how you doing? It's RhinoDoc here, and I'm here with Admin from Bear Flag Trading Company.
Hey everybody, it's Admin from Bear Flag Trading Company.
And we're going to talk about the film UN, meaning the United Nations, me, UN me. It's kind of weird. I was doing some work on Bear Flag one day. I went to Facebook, and I was just doing some stuff, and all of a sudden, on the ads on the side, which I hardly ever look at, so I keep seeing the blue helmet, UN me, UN me. So what the hell is this thing? So finally I bit. So I clicked on the UN me thing, saw the trailer, I was like, oh, this looks like it's going to be a really kind of cool film. So I jumped on the website, took a look at it, and I reached out to him and said, hey, this is Doc from Bear Flag Trading Company. Love to look at your film, love to review it. I want to see what it's about. Looks like something that I'd be interested in. 24 hours later, got the email with the code to take a look at their viewing. Took a look at their film. A couple of weeks later, I had a conversation with the director, and the guy just saw the film, and it was really cool. So that's kind of where we're at with that. That's how we got the You and Me. So looked at it and I saw some. I always had a. As a kid, from the beginning, as a kid growing up in New York, the United Nations was a big deal for us. We'd go field trips, and we had the United Nations Model UN in our school. Everybody's encouraged to do it. In the 8th grade, we had to choose a country, or I don't think we chose it because country given it to us.
So it was like a Model UN?
Model UN, yeah.
Yeah.
And so the country was given to us, or whatever. I was Germany. I don't know, it's West Germany at the time, right? Because we were in the Cold War, right? So I was Germany, and we had to, debate and look at stuff and try to make things that are good. So it was like a whole Model UN thing, and then at the end of the class, we went to the United Nations, and we got to meet representatives from the country that we were portraying. Went to the whole tour of the place, went to the General Assembly room. It's kind of went to this security room where they showed, wherever. It was kind of neat. It was just a neat thing. So as a kid, we always thought the United Nations, in school, obviously I went to public school, and we were always taught that the United Nations was this like really great thing. The whole concept coming back from the time of the League of Nations, of which Wilson tried to get going. Obviously that was a big failure because we didn't ratify that. We didn't ratify it. And then after World War II, obviously, we came up with the United Nations. So, so League of Nations was created, after World War I by Wilson. The idea, same concept as the United Nations, and obviously it failed. And the interesting part about it, with FDR being a Wilsonian prodigy, he went forward and created the United Nations along. And that's kind of where we're at. So that was something that's been in the works for a long time. I mean, the concept of that came way back in the late 1800s. All right, so in the 8th grade, we were all taught that the United Nations was this great thing, and I really seriously thought it was a pretty decent organization. That the concepts behind it, UNICEF and aid to nations that need nations, and peacekeeping forces, and so forth and so on. It really wasn't until I got into the military in '91, realistically, that I saw how the United Nations really placated to the warlords, if you will. So we went over, and we were trying to do humanitarian missions and feeding the poor and doing that type of stuff. The first thing we did is we went over there, and they gave us weapons without ammo. Said, hey, you're not eligible to shoot anybody, I guess. And then it wasn't until we started taking rounds that they issued us ammunition, and then said only fire when fire upon. So it wasn't even like we could go and see. We couldn't stop anything. We weren't allowed to stop anything. We weren't. The SOFA agreement didn't allow us to engage any acts to stop any type of things that are going on. So if we witnessed atrocity, we had to come back and report it. We couldn't stop it. So I was over there for 46 days or something like that. Less than a complete 2 months. And most of the time I was flying back and forth with patients where we were doing with the humanitarian mission going on. But, you know, so I wasn't really working for the United Nations. However, I was working on the constraints of the United Nations. And I was like, that kind of got me a little ticked off. Like going, hey, what the hell? And really lost respect for the mission of the United Nations. And the blue helmets after that, to me, became a joke. And I understood that then. And that's not even the tip of the iceberg from what's really going on.
I get a phone call from RhinoDoc here, and he says, hey, you need to check out this movie. I'm going to do a review about it. I think you'll like it. And I'm like, all right, let me check it out. So he forwards me the email, and I log on, and I see, okay, this is going to be 90 minutes of my life. I hope this is worth it. So I press play, and my total intention was to get through 20 minutes of it because I had quite a bit else to do, and it immediately grabbed me. And I sat down and watched the full movie and paid for that later, but it really opened my eyes as to what the UN was about. I'm a couple years younger than RhinoDoc here and didn't have the opportunity to visit the United Nations, or to be honest with you, I really didn't know much about them other than their failures that were publicized you know, on some TV shows I watched growing up as a child. And I was really blown away with the ineptitude of this organization.
How does the UN define terrorism?
Well, technically, the United Nations so far has not been able to define terrorism.
Definition of terrorism is a very difficult thing.
But here I brought the Webster Dictionary.
Yes.
And we actually have a definition right here.
That's Webster's view.
I got great news, guys. I found a definition for terrorism in the dictionary.
Can't do that here. It's a propaganda.
And days later, thinking back on what I learned from this movie, is that my honest opinion is this is the clubhouse for all these nations of the world. This is where they go, have a secret handshake, and you know, the He-Man Woman Haters Club type of setup. And it's really sad that our nation and many nations spend millions and millions of dollars funding this organization that can't accomplish anything, that chooses not to accomplish anything. That was the thing that really pisses me off.
You know what's funny about that? You say that about choosing not to accomplish anything. Is look what's going on in Syria. Look what's going on in Syria today. You know, the concept here is that we knew that we weren't going to be able to get anything to the Security Council because Russia has a veto, and they are in bed with Syria. If we went over there and tried to stop the civil war that's going on, we being the United Nations, went over and tried to stop the civil war that's going on, it would not benefit Russia in any way. And they said that. They said, if you can bring it up, we're going to veto it. You can do any resolution you want to do and bring it up. One of my favorite parts about the movie was the little cartoons that they put in there, and the one where it's like, we're gonna, you know, because we're gonna say on a piece of paper that you're doing bad stuff, and if you don't listen to what we're gonna do, we're gonna write a stronger letter. You know,
We're going to send you another piece of paper.
Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, our access to the movie, because it was just released last Friday, this being June 7th of 2012, we do have a few clips we're going to insert throughout this video, but we don't have a lot of it because it is in theaters and available for download and things of that such. But what we're going to show you, I hope will entice you to see this movie. I mean, overall, I think it was a great movie. I think anybody who's concerned about the direction of this country or is inquisitive as to what the UN is supposed to be doing, should be doing, portrays themselves to be doing, that this is going to open your eyes. And unfortunately, you're not going to see the UN in a good light.
What I liked about the movie specifically, though, is that the director was able to go through and get a serious message about how inept the United Nations is, and do it with comedy.
Tongue in cheek.
It's so funny. I mean, like,
so much tongue in cheek throughout the movie.
what amazes me is his ability to get into the United Nations, walk in onto the podium, and start addressing the members of the United Nations until the security escorted him out. He was able to get himself onto a diplomatic flight with one of the presidents of one of the nations that he was talking to, you know, to ask him questions. And he was able to just finagle his way out of the flight.
I think the one thing when he was talking to a representative.
Iran?
Yes, of course.
Are you building schools?
For sure.
Are you building nuclear weapons?
Are you making nuclear weapons? Crickets.
You know, the same thing. He was just like, well, why do you guys hate gays? And he's like, oh, it's okay if they do their gay exercises inside their house. And then he cut it to the Richard Simmons doing his little gay exercises. That was the classic. Right
Richard
there.
Simmons was gay?
I'm sorry. Did it break your heart?
I gotta throw all my jazzercise tapes away?
Those damn dolphin shorts.
I love my dolphin shirts. They're even orange.
You didn't keep your Marine Corps dolphin shorts?
I've got those, of course. Can't fit into them, but I got them.
So, oh god. So yeah. I mean, the way he just made the video itself, made the movie, was a very serious topic, and he really got his points across.
You know, one thing that really got my attention was, I believe it was Darfur, where they sent a representative over to collect information on these reported atrocities, and they were denied, her team was denied visas 20 plus times, so they went to a neighboring country to capture statements from refugees that were fleeing the area. And she returns to the United Nations with her report, and it obviously wasn't favorable against.
And she's a liberal.
Darfur. Very liberal. So she writes a report, it's reviewed, and she was told that it needs to be more pleasing to all the parties on the floor of the UN. And she didn't quite grasp at first what they were trying to ask her to do.
Well, she grasped. She just
I don't think at first.
No, she was basically like, screw them, I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
Well, eventually, she came around to...
She's not a very, like, a PC person by any means. She's kind of crass.
Yeah, eventually she came around to, this is my report, and they said, well, we're not going to have time to read it. I think they took 5 minutes. They gave her 5 minutes where she presented her findings, and it appeared to me that the UN gave her report to several people to counter it. So before she even gave her report, they had prior knowledge, and they had written statements ready to rebut what she was saying. And it was mind-blowing that they sat there and they basically called her a liar, that her findings were unacceptable.
She goes in front of the UN, and she knew that they were going to blast her because they basically told her up front, but she didn't care, and she gave the report the way it was. And they voted in the affirmative on like one minute point of her story. And then when the director of the movie asked her, like, oh, well, they, prove you won. And she said, well, they gotta prove something because they spent all this money sending her over there, her team over there, the whole 9 yards. So they had to make it look like they're doing something. So they proved like this one insignificant point that she made. Kind of like the sky is blue. Yeah, no freaking doubt the sky is blue. Right. So no one can argue against that. Right. So I mean, and she was frustrated. And like I said, she was a super liberal chick. She wasn't like a conservative at all. She wasn't somebody who's going to go in and remember, this is when Clinton was in power too. So when they went over there, it wasn't like they were sending any kind of right-wing guy. They were sending this left-wing liberal lady who was all about women's rights and about that type of stuff. So they got what they got, and they still blasted her on the UN Council.
One of the other parts I found funny was when he was talking to UN soldiers from different nations, and they basically made statements.
I was paid to do nothing. Chief of personnel, he said, enjoy the beach, have beer, go out with the chicks.
I saw you at the club last night. You're awesome, dude.
Enjoy the chicks, that was the quote.
Yeah, enjoy the chicks.
And they enjoyed the chicks?
They did. Come to find out, a lot of them were underage to our standards here in the States. And it's really, really sad that so much taxpayer dollars is going into funding these missions, again, with no real objective, no intent to accomplish any objective.
You know what I find interesting too is that a lot of the places that are sending troops to the United Nations as peacekeepers aren't sending their best troops because it's expensive, so they're getting their derelicts. So it basically be the same thing as like if our army, went over to the brig. I don't know if it's called a brig in the army or not, but to the brig and got all those guys out and said, okay, yeah, we're going to send this group as the peacekeeping troops over to whatever country and go have fun. And these guys are molesting children. They're actually they've caught them in child kidnapping and
in UN vehicles.
In UN
right?
vehicles, yeah, yep. They kidnap the kids. They put them into prostitution. They send them to other countries. In UN vehicles. They're talking about this one guy that was going and had set up soccer camps for youth, and was giving the kids chocolate, and then he was doing having his way with the kids. He would pick a boy and have his way with the kids, and then when they confronted him on it, he's like, well, he liked the chocolate, and so he in his mind he was like, he's not going to have an issue with it. I've given him chocolate. He likes the chocolate, so of course he's gonna give me a blowjob or whatever he's trying to get from him. I mean, it's just like, that's freaking terrible.
I think you can tell both RhinoDoc and I enjoyed this movie, and we encourage you to go to a theater if it's playing in your area, download it, buy the DVD. There will be links below to the You and Me movie website. They're also on Facebook.
Amazon?
You can find it on Amazon
iTunes
as well. And I'm going to let RhinoDoc wrap this up. He was more involved with it than I, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I definitely recommend it. You guys should check it out if you have the opportunity.
So guys, this is my take on this. That I'm taking a look at all these movies and these books that we've been reviewing to really tell you an honest look at it. And I won't tell you if I like the movie, I'm going to recommend it. I recommend You and Me highly. Get it at either Amazon, iTunes, or go to You and Me, the website, which is going to be right down here, and enjoy it. We have to support people that are making these type of movies so they make more, and so that they can get the word out. So this is RhinoDoc.
And this is Admin.
We're signing out.
No country is perfect.
I'll take you on a journey around the world.
Working hard or hardly working?
To peek behind the curtain and expose the secrets of the UN.
Hello? Genocide going on.
And just maybe, make a few friends along the way. Or not.